Alright, so if I was going to balance a redox reaction and write the net ionic reaction for a redox reaction, the way that I do that is I write the half reaction for the oxidation and the reduction. I balance both of those reactions with the number of atoms and then also the charge on both sides by adding electrons. And then the number of electrons gained and the reduction half reaction has to be the number of electrons that is lost in the oxidation. So the number of electrons has to be the same. The number of electrons lost has to equal the number of electrons gained. So if you need to, you multiply one or both of the equations to make those numbers equal. Then you just simply combine them. So let's look at what that looks like. So to first determine the oxidation numbers. So copper is by itself, so it should be 0. So silver nitrate, it's an ionic compound, so it's going to match the charges. But nitrate's a -1, oxygen's going to be -2. Since there's 3 of those, that's a -6. So each nitrogen has to be a +5. Silver by itself is going to be 0. And copper here should be +2. Oxygen should be -2, and then again copper is going to be, or nitrogen will be +5. So the copper changed and the silver changed. Nitrate, nitrogen, and oxygen stay the same, so that would be a spectator. So now let's look at copper. Copper went from a 0 to a +2, so it is being oxidized. That number of atoms is the same, so now look at your charge. You've got a +2, so add electrons to the more positive side to bring it down to 0. Silver is a +1 on the reactant side and then becomes 0 on this side. Number of atoms is the same, so now add electrons to your more positive side. So now we have the half reactions for each one. They are both balanced, so now we need to make sure the number of electrons is the same. Since we have 2 here, that means that the silver needs to, this also needs to be 2. So you multiply everything in the equation by 2. 2 electrons and 2 silvers. Alright, so now, last step, combine them. And you want to make sure your electrons end up canceling. So you lost 2 electrons here, you gained 2 electrons here, so they will cancel. And then you just put everything together. So if it's on both sides, then they would cancel. Copper plus the 2 silver ions produces a copper ion and 2 silver atoms. Okay, this is the net ionic reaction for this redox reaction.